He wasn't supposed to die. Not like this. Not without warning. Not without goodbye. Not without at least a heartbeat left to fight. Amaka's feet slipped on the polished marble as she stumbled into the room, sweat trickling down her back beneath her black and white uniform. The morning heat still clung to her skin from her run through the estate. But inside, the air felt wrong. Too cold, too still, too final. Her eyes went straight to the casket. It lay in the middle of the room like a polished coffin-shaped mirror, its lid propped open, a velvet lining swallowing the man inside. Namdi Williams, CEO, Billionaire. The man who had changed her life with a single act of kindness. The man who once looked her in the eye and said, "You're safe now." Now he was still, dressed in a tailored black suit, hands folded over his chest like the ending of a chapter no one saw coming. Amaka stopped breathing. No priest, no police report, no hospital van, just family members in black, staring, crying, whispering. Cynthia stood nearest to the casket, her cheeks stained with tears that seemed to have been carefully timed. Her dress clung perfectly, her expression even more so. Dr. Jeremy Benson clutched his clipboard like it had all the answers. Nambi's younger brother was there too. Silent, pale, his voice a whisper no one answered. "Brother, please." Amaka's voice cracked. "He's alive. Don't put him in there." No one moved. For a moment, it was as if the marble itself had frozen. Cynthia turned, her eyes narrowing when she saw who dared speak. "Who let the maid in here?" Amaka stepped forward. She didn't care about protocol now. She didn't care about titles. The only thing that mattered was that man lying cold and quiet. The same man who once handed her a steaming plate of rice and said, "You'll sleep inside tonight. Not under a bridge." "Let her speak," Namdi said. He stepped between Cynthia and Amaka, his face tight, his voice barely hiding the dread. Amaka's chest heaved. Her voice trembled. "Sir, there's no time. Just watch." And before anyone could stop her, she raised her hand. The room gasped. A mourner shouted. Cynthia lunged forward. "No." But Amaka's hand came down with the kind of force that didn't belong in a room like this. A sound so sharp it cracked the still air in half. Smack. The slap echoed. Then silence. People screamed. Some backed away. Others rushed forward. Hands grabbed for her arms. Cynthia shouted, "Get her out of here." But then, his chest moved. A twitch. Amaka froze. Another twitch. This time stronger. His hand shifted, barely, but undeniably. Then came the sound that turned grief into chaos. A cough. Deep, dry, rough. Like something long buried was clawing its way back. "God," someone whispered. "He's breathing." Amaka stumbled closer, kneeling beside the casket. Her hands shook as she reached for the bottle of water on the side table. She brought it to his lips, her voice trembling. "Small sip, sir. Please." Namdi watched in disbelief, his hands clenched. Cynthia stood motionless, her face draining of color. William's lips parted. His voice came out dry, cracked, ghost-like. "Water." The room exploded. Shouts. Sobs. People cried, screamed, dropped chairs in a rush to move. A woman fainted in the corner. The two men who had been preparing to carry the body stepped back, hands raised like they'd seen a spirit. But Amaka was calm. She gently tilted the bottle. A sip, then another. Color began returning to his face, like slow sunrise after a long, terrible night. He blinked. Once, twice, and then his eyes locked with hers. He knew. "Why?" he whispered. "Are the windows open?" The room froze again. Every eye turned toward the large windows behind the casket. Wide open. Harmattan wind slipping through. Cold. Sharp. Dry. Dr. Benson's grip tightened on his clipboard. Cynthia's clutch bag trembled in her hands. And then it slipped. Clatter. Papers spilled across the floor. Documents. Letters. Stamped files. Nambi bent and picked one up. He read it slowly. His jaw dropped. A power of attorney. Signed. Dated. Authorizing Cynthia Williams to take full control of Williams Group and all associated properties. Nambi looked up, his voice a whisper of rage. "Cynthia, what is this?" Cynthia didn't answer. Her lips parted, but words refused to come. Williams coughed again, stronger this time. He shifted, trying to sit up. Amaka helped him. He leaned on her arm, blinking against the light, sweat beading on his brow. He looked at Cynthia, and then at the doctor. "Why?" His voice was hoarse but steady. Why was I never taken to the hospital? Dr. Benson stuttered. You were gone, sir. There was no pulse. Your skin, it was cold. I assumed. You assumed wrong, Namdi snapped. You're a doctor. You don't assume. Cynthia's voice finally broke through. I didn't know. I thought he was. Jeremy said it was time. That it would be peaceful. That he wouldn't suffer. Williams stared at her. Long quiet. Empty. Then he turned to Amaka. His lips curved, just slightly. You remembered, he whispered. Amaka nodded, tears pooling in her eyes. Yes, sir. You told me once, if anything ever happened, and they said you were gone but there was no sign, no sickness, to slap you. The faintest smile crossed his face. You saved me. Then his eyes shifted back to Cynthia. Her mouth opened, panic setting in. I didn't mean for this. Please. Williams. Namdi picked up another paper from the floor. His expression darkened. Company transfer. Account movement. Millions shifted to a private name. Hers, and he looked up. Jeremy Benson. The doctor's eyes widened. No. She told me it was insurance. That he signed it. Cynthia gasped. You liar. You said we'd be safe. Williams raised a shaking hand. Enough. The command hit the room like a gavel. Silence. He looked at Cynthia again, this time with something deeper than anger. Disbelief. Betrayal. You opened that window, he said. No, You tried to bury me. And in that moment, she knew she couldn't lie her way out. Not anymore. Cynthia stared at the man she thought she'd buried. He sat upright now, pale, shaky, breathing slow, but very much alive, and looking straight at her. Around them, the room had turned into a different kind of funeral, one where the dead came back not to forgive, but to ask questions no one wanted to answer. The silence was not gentle. It pressed against every wall. William's voice, though hoarse, came sharp. You opened the window. Cynthia swallowed. I just wanted fresh air. Don't lie, Namdi snapped. His eyes were no longer kind. You knew what that cold would do. You knew it could stop his heart, make it look like death. Dr. Benson backed toward the door, sweat beading at his temples. Let's not jump to conclusions. Jump. Williams coughed, chest trembling. You were ready to bury me. No. Cynthia said quickly, stepping forward. No. I called Jeremy right away. He checked you. He said, he confirmed you were gone. I never saw a report, Namdi cut in. No hospital, no authorities. Just you, a private doctor, and a fast funeral. Amaka moved closer to the window. Her eyes scanned the latches. Dust marks. Smudges. Fingerprints. The wind still whispered through the cracked pane. Cold. Just like he'd described. She remembered his exact words. In the harmattan, I stopped breathing. You won't see it. You'll think I'm gone. But slap me. Shock me. That's the only thing that brings me back. And Cynthia had known. Williams turned to Namdi. Close the window. Namdi did. The breeze stopped. But the chill in the room stayed. Suddenly, Cynthia dropped to her knees. I didn't plan it alone, she whispered. Jeremy, he said if you were gone, everything would come to me. I didn't want to hurt you. She didn't finish. Her voice cracked into silence. Jeremy stood frozen near the doorway, watching the scene unravel. Namdi walked over to the scattered papers on the floor. He picked up another sheet. His face darkened as he read. Property transfers, he said. Multiple. Not just company shares. Real estate. Overseas accounts. Signed within the last 72 hours. All under Cynthia's name. Co-signed by Dr. Benson. Cynthia's eyes widened. No, I thought it was insurance. I swear, he said it was standard. You really think anyone here is that stupid? Namdi snapped. Williams looked down at his own hands. They still trembled, but his eyes had cleared. The fog was gone. What remained now was rage. Cold, steady, controlled. You were going to bury me alive, he said again, more to himself than anyone. Over money. The guests were still gathered, silent, watching. No one dared move. The room felt like it was waiting for a verdict. Then, quietly, Williams looked up. Security. 2 guards entered from the hall. Strong men in dark suits. Take Dr. Benson, Williams said. The doctor panicked. Wait, please. Don't do this. I'm a doctor. No. You were my doctor, Williams said. Now you're a criminal. The guards grabbed him. He didn't resist. Not anymore. Call the police, Namdi said, stepping closer. Let them see the documents. One guard nodded and stepped aside to make the call. Benson's voice cracked. Cynthia, tell them the truth. You said we'd be safe. Cynthia turned away, her face ash-white. I never meant for it to go this far, she whispered. You almost killed me, Williams said. She looked up, her face broken. I loved you. No, he said coldly. You loved the life I gave you. And when you thought it was over, you chose the money. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I was scared, she whispered. Scared to lose everything. Jeremy said it would be fast, that you'd already stopped breathing. I didn't think. You didn't care, Williams said. The guards led Jeremy out. The front door closed behind him like a full stop. Cynthia remained on the floor. Namdi moved beside his brother. What now? Williams didn't answer right away. He looked at Amaka. She had stepped back quietly, standing near the wall, watching everything. Her face was unreadable, calm, but her eyes shimmered with tears. You saved my life, he said to her. His voice cracked. She shook her head. You saved mine first. Namdi turned to the guests. Please, give us the room. Slowly, the mourners began to file out, whispering among themselves, some still stunned. An aunt crossed herself. A cousin shook his head. When the room was nearly empty, Cynthia spoke again. Her voice was small. Are you going to send me to jail too? Williams looked at her for a long time. No, he said. But you'll face the law. She blinked. What does that mean? You'll stand trial. Not because I want revenge, he said slowly, but because people like you must know that betrayal has consequences. She nodded weakly. Nambi stepped forward. The documents will be enough. Her name's on everything. Williams nodded. Let the law decide. He turned to Amaka. Thank you, he said again. Her voice was barely a whisper. You told me to slap you. He smiled faintly. I didn't think you'd do it so well. A single, quiet laugh passed between them. The first sound in the house that didn't feel like mourning. Later that evening, after the police had arrived, after Cynthia had been questioned and escorted out, after the casket had been taken away, Amaka found herself standing by the same window. The wind no longer whispered. Williams walked in, now dressed in a robe, his face tired but alive. You should rest, he said softly. I can't, she said. Every time I close my eyes, I see you lying there. And the way everyone just accepted it. He stood beside her. The marble felt warm under their feet now. I've trusted the wrong people, he said. And the right one was right here the whole time. She smiled faintly. You gave me hope when I had none. I couldn't let them take you like that. They stood in silence for a while. Then he turned to her. You said once you wanted to study. What was it? Computer science? She blinked. Yes, sir. But you'll go, he interrupted. Tomorrow we'll begin the paperwork. Full scholarship. Hostel. Everything. She tried to protest. I can't accept. You already earned it, he said. Today, you saved more than my life. You saved who I am. Her eyes filled again. He reached into his robe and pulled out a small envelope. Take this. Your first term covered. Plus enough to settle comfortably. She took it with shaking hands. Thank you. He nodded. When you graduate, come work for me. I want people beside me who understand loyalty, not just balance sheets. I will, she whispered. He turned to leave, but then paused. Next time someone says I'm dead, he said with a half smile, maybe slap a little softer. She laughed through her tears. No promises, sir. By morning, the world knew everything. The news broke like a window in a storm. Loud, sharp, and impossible to ignore. Billionaire declared dead wakes up before burial, saved by Maid's slap. Wife and doctor allegedly tried to bury him alive. The slap heard across Lagos. There was video, of course. Someone had filmed it on their phone from the hallway. The slap. The chaos. The cough. The man sitting up inside his casket like a resurrection no one expected. By noon, the footage had millions of views. Comment sections flooded with disbelief and fury. Praise for Amaka. Hatred for Cynthia. Jokes. Memes. Speculation. Gossip. Everyone had something to say. That maid deserves a national award. How can a wife plot to bury her own husband alive? God save this man. Through a slap. By evening, Cynthia's name was trending for all the wrong reasons. She sat alone in her sister's apartment, scrolling through hundreds of comments with shaking hands. Some called her a monster. Others went deeper. Greed made her blind. She wanted the money, not the man. And now she'll lose both. She threw the phone aside and buried her face in her hands. Tears burned her eyes, but not just from shame. from the realization that it was all true. Across town, Williams sat with Namdi in the mansion study. The marbles still gleamed, the windows now shut, the air warm and heavy with something new. Survival. She really did it, Namdi said quietly. If Amaka hadn't come back. Williams nodded, staring into his tea. She almost buried me. Alive. He hadn't slept much. The memory of the cold. The silence. The window. Her face. It all blurred together. I trusted her, he said. I gave her everything. And she signed it away before your body went cold. Williams sighed. She thought I was gone. And all she saw was the chance to take what she hadn't earned. Namdi looked toward the hallway. What will you do with her? Williams didn't answer right away. His eyes drifted to the window. I'll let the court decide. 3 days later, the courtroom was packed. Press. Family. Strangers. The curious. The outraged. The air smelled of paper, nerves, and cheap perfume. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered. Cynthia sat beside her lawyer, dressed in a dull gray suit, hair tied back. Her face had lost its glow. Her eyes were tired. Her mouth was tight. Beside her, Dr. Benson, handcuffed, refused to look at anyone. Amaka sat quietly in the back row, her hands folded in her lap. She wore a modest dress, her hair neatly done, her expression unreadable. Then the judge entered. A woman with glasses perched low on her nose and a gaze that could slice through steel. She struck her gavel. Case number 0142. Williams Group versus Cynthia Williams and Dr. Jeremy Benson. Williams rose. His voice was calm, but each word landed like a stone. My lord, I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for truth. For justice. He paused, turning his gaze to Cynthia. She flinched. I was declared dead while still alive. My wife and our family doctor conspired to take my properties. My company. My life. Gasps. Clicks of cameras. Cynthia's lawyer jumped up. Objection, my lord. Accusations without evidence. Williams lifted a file. These are the documents she carried the day of my funeral. Power of attorney. Property transfers. All signed. All stamped. None witnessed. The judge leaned forward, adjusting her glasses. Proceed. They called Dr. Benson to the stand. He crumbled. It was her idea, he said, voice shaking. She said he was distant. Cold. That he had grown tired of her. She wanted to secure her future. I didn't think he'd actually wake up. Cynthia shot up from her seat. You liar. You told me he was gone. You said it was safe. Order, the judge barked. Williams remained still. Watching. Listening. You both betrayed everything I built, he said. Not just my business. My home. My life. Hours passed. Evidence mounted. Voices rose. And when the time came, the judge turned to Williams once more. Do you wish to request a sentence? He stood. My lord, he said softly, I don't wish to see them jailed. I ask only 3 things. The room stilled. 1. That my marriage to Cynthia be legally dissolved. 2. That she be barred from all assets, estates, and business interests connected to my name. 3. That Dr. Benson's medical license be revoked. For the safety of others. Silence. Then the judge nodded. The court grants your request. She turned to Cynthia. You will receive no inheritance, no access to his company, and no claim on his estate. Cynthia sank into her chair. Her lawyer didn't speak. Dr. Benson was led away in cuffs. This time, without protest. Amaka stood quietly as the judge exited. She didn't smile, didn't cry, just watched as justice did what it was supposed to do. After the trial, reporters swarmed the steps. Miss Amaka, did you really save Mr. Williams with a slap? How did you know he wasn't dead? Are you still working for him? She said nothing, just walked past them, head high, like the storm couldn't reach her anymore. That night, the mansion was quiet. Williams stood on the balcony, watching the city. Lights blinked in the distance. Cars moved like stars. Below him, the same house where he nearly died now pulsed with life. Amaka joined him, her hair catching the wind. I got the admission letter, she said. He turned. University of Lagos? She nodded. Computer science. First semester starts in 3 weeks. He smiled. Then it's time you packed. She hesitated. Sir, I still don't know how to thank you. You already did, he said. You gave me my life. She looked out at the lights. I was just doing what you told me. He laughed softly. Then maybe I should start taking my own advice. She turned to go, but he called her name. Amaka. She stopped. He handed her an envelope. Your tuition. And a little extra. For books. For life. She stared at it. Sir. You can, he said. And you will. She took it with both hands, her fingers trembling. Thank you, she whispered. He nodded. When you graduate, come back. Work for me. Williams Group needs people like you. And then she was gone. That night, in a cheap room across town, Cynthia lay in bed. Alone. She had sold her jewelry, her car, her wedding rings. The curtains were shut. The silence was thick. Bills lay unopened on the floor. The bottle of pills sat empty on the nightstand. The neighbors heard a crash. Then silence. They broke down the door and found her pale and gasping. Poison, someone whispered. She's tried to end it. They rushed her to the hospital. And somehow, the news reached the one man who should have walked away. Williams. He arrived hours later. Quiet. Alone. The nurse whispered, she asked for you. He entered the room. She looked so small now. So human. The poison hadn't killed her. But the shame might. You came, she croaked. He sat beside her. I came, he said, because I still believe life is worth more than revenge. She wept. Why? After what I did. Because if I don't forgive you, he said, then I've learned nothing. She broke down. And before he left, he placed an envelope on the table. 5 million naira, he said. Start over. Do something good. She stared at it like it burned her. You're giving me money? After all that? He nodded. Consider it mercy. As he stood to leave, she whispered, you'll always be better than me. And then he was gone. Outside, it rained softly, washing the city clean. The morning Lego sun filtered through sheer curtains, painting soft golden lines across the mansion floor. For the first time in weeks, the house was silent. Not with grief, not with fear, but with something that felt dangerously close to peace. William sat in the living room, dressed simply in a white linen tunic, his eyes focused on the window. The same window that nearly became his grave. But now it was closed. Locked. The cold couldn't come in anymore. Across from him, Namdi sipped tea slowly, watching his older brother with quiet awe. You look better, Namdi said. I feel, Williams exhaled, not whole yet, but awake. Namdi nodded. Almost dying will do that. A pause passed between them. Not awkward, but heavy. Like two men walking away from a battlefield still wearing invisible wounds. What about her? Namdi asked finally. Williams didn't have to ask who. She's alive, he said. She's trying to rebuild. I gave her the money. What she does with it now, that's on her. Namdi didn't argue. You forgave her. Williams smiled faintly. I forgave her because Amaka reminded me that I still had something to live for. Namdi chuckled. A maid slaps you out of death, and now you speak like a philosopher. No, Williams said. I speak like a man who saw the edge and didn't fall. Amaka zipped her small suitcase one last time. The room she had called home for years felt suddenly unfamiliar. The bed was made. The floor swept. Her maid's uniform folded neatly on the chair. Today, she would leave the mansion not as a servant, but as a student. Her dream, the one she had locked away in the back of her mind, behind chores and yes ma'ams and closed doors, was finally unfolding. She stepped out into the hallway. Her bag small, but her chest heavy. Williams was waiting by the door. You're early, he said. I've always been early, she replied. He smiled. Yes, even the first day. I remember you came at sunrise and waited outside the gate with a note in your hand. She looked down, blushing. I thought being early would make me look serious. It did, he said. It saved my life, too. They stood in silence for a moment, the past stretching between them like a quiet river. Then he handed her an envelope. For your hostel, he said. And books, and a little comfort. Sir, you've already done too much. I've done just enough, he interrupted. You earned every bit of it. She took the envelope, her hands trembling. When you graduate, he said, I expect you back. She smiled. To clean. To lead, he corrected. Williams Group needs people who see the truth even when no one else does. As the car pulled away, Amaka looked back through the tinted window. The mansion faded behind the palm trees, but her heart stayed tethered to it, not by duty, but by gratitude. The headlines slowed. The world moved on. But within the mansion, time ticked differently. Williams returned to work slowly. Fewer meetings, shorter hours, more walks. He smiled more now, though the smile often faded too quickly. The staff noticed. He started asking about their families, learning names he once skimmed over. He dined in the smaller dining room. He walked barefoot in the garden. "You've changed," Namdi said one day. "I died," Williams replied. "At least, a part of me." Across town, Cynthia sat in her rented room, staring at the flickering bulb on the ceiling. Her world was smaller now. No makeup, no silk robes, just plain walls and a stove that worked only on good days. She had used part of the money to pay off debts, another part to rent this place, and the rest, she didn't know what to do with it. Sometimes she held the envelope to her chest, just to remind herself that it wasn't a dream, that the man she betrayed gave her another chance. She volunteered at a soup kitchen once a week. No one knew her name there. She liked it that way. Her hands shook the first time she served rice to a girl who reminded her of Amaka. But she kept coming back. Regret didn't disappear, but service dulled the edge. She avoided mirrors now, not because she looked older, but because she hated who stared back. Every night before sleep, she whispered the same thing. "Thank you for saving me." Twice. 2 years passed. The harmattan came and went, softer now. The mansion remained warm. And Amaka? She flourished. She didn't just study, she devoured knowledge. Code became her language. Algorithms, her poetry. She graduated at the top of her class. Highest honors. Dean's list. Faculty award. Everyone clapped. But her eyes searched the crowd for one face. And when she stepped off that stage, diploma in hand, a familiar figure was waiting at the back. White agbada. Red cap. Calm eyes. "Williams. You came," she whispered. "I said I would," he replied. "And you've made me proud." Weeks later, Amaka walked through the Williams Group headquarters, not as a cleaner, not as a visitor, but as an employee. Her ID card read, Amaka, software engineer. People stared, whispered, smiled. The girl who once swept floors now built code. Her office overlooked the courtyard. Her desk had a fresh bouquet. Her team leader gave her the best workstation. And every time she passed the plaque in the hallway that read integrity above all else, she smiled. The company began to change. Williams appointed new directors. He shut down shady partnerships, increased staff benefits, introduced scholarship programs. The press called it the new Williams Group. Investors called it the rebirth. But internally, everyone knew who the change really began with. Not the CEO, but the girl who slapped him back to life. One evening, Williams walked into her office as she was typing. "You still call me sir," he said. She smiled. "Habit. Maybe it's time we change that." Before she could answer, he held out a small velvet box. She froze. "3 years ago," he said softly, "you gave me back my life. But every day since, you've given me something more, peace, laughter, purpose." He got down on one knee. Her breath caught. "Amaka," he said, "will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, sir." He laughed. "Let's drop the sir now, please." Their wedding was small, elegant, peaceful. Cynthia sat quietly in the back row, her hands clasped, tears in her eyes. She didn't cry from jealousy or loss, but from something else. The kind of sorrow that grows when you've witnessed grace and know you didn't deserve to see it twice. When the ceremony ended, Amaka stood beside her husband, no longer just a name badge on a cleaning cart, but a woman standing in her own story. And as the guests danced and the drums played, Williams leaned in and whispered, "You saved me once." She smiled. "And you gave me a life." That night, as they stood on the balcony where it all began, the breeze danced gently across their faces. Amaka closed the window. "Just a little." "Not today, Harmattan," she whispered with a grin. "He's alive." 1 year later, the mansion no longer whispered of death. It echoed with laughter, soft footsteps, and the clatter of a tiny spoon against a ceramic bowl. Williams sat on the living room couch, his robe slightly wrinkled, a burp cloth over one shoulder. In his arms, a baby boy yawned sleepily. Jerry Namdi Williams. Their son, named after a brother and a second chance. "You smell like milk," Amaka teased, walking in with her hair tied up, her hands full of folded baby clothes. "I smell like fatherhood," Williams replied, grinning. "And love. And probably oatmeal." Amaka leaned down and kissed his forehead. All three. The baby stirred, made a soft sound, then settled again. Williams looked down at the tiny face and whispered, "You are proof, little man, that life gives back more than it takes." Outside, The harmattan wind swept across the estate, but the windows were closed. Always. That wind would never steal anything from them again. At Williams Group headquarters, a large banner stretched across the entrance. Tech Summit 2026, featuring Amaka Williams. She stood on the stage, no longer the girl in the hallway with a mop, but a woman in a sleek navy suit, speaking to hundreds. Her keynote was titled From Background to Backbone, Building Systems with Heart. After the applause, someone from the crowd raised a hand. How did you go from a maid to a tech lead in under 3 years? She smiled. I didn't. I went from invisible to seen, from scared to trusted, from surviving to choosing. She paused, her voice softening. But above all, I had someone who believed in me before I believed in myself. And that made all the difference. Later that week, the company held its annual Thanksgiving gala. 3 years to the day since the slap. The ballroom glowed with warm lights, decorated in soft golds and creams. The theme that year, Second Chances. Williams took the stage wearing a tailored white agbada. His voice, as always, carried quiet gravity. 3 years ago today, he began, I was lying in a casket, breathing through a thread, and someone refused to let me go. He turned toward Amaka, seated in the front row. Her eyes shimmered, her lips curved in a quiet smile. She saw life where everyone saw death, hope where everyone saw grief. And because she did, I lived. The crowd stood, applauding, crying, smiling. She is more than my wife, he said. She is the foundation of every new thing we've built. Amaka lowered her gaze, heart full. The next day, as they were leaving the office, William's secretary stopped him. Sir, she said quietly, someone's here to see you. She says it's urgent. Who is it? She says her name is Cynthia. Silence stretched like a shadow. Amaka turned to him. You don't have to. But he was already walking. When Cynthia entered the office, she was nearly unrecognizable. She wore a simple gray dress, flat shoes. No jewelry. No makeup. Her once sharp eyes now held something gentler. Thank you for seeing me, she said. He gestured toward a seat. Sit. I didn't come to ask for anything, she began. I just wanted to say thank you. For what? For not destroying me. For that money. I used it to start a small catering service. It's doing well now. I've paid my debts. I volunteer at a shelter twice a week. I found peace. Williams studied her face. She wasn't the same woman. I live with what I did, she continued, voice shaking. And I will for the rest of my life. But I wanted you to know that I'm trying to make something good out of what I broke. He nodded slowly. I'm glad, he said. She stood, and before walking out, turned back. I heard Amaka's keynote, she said. She was incredible. He smiled. She is. Cynthia paused. She saved your life. But you saved mine too. Then she left quietly. And just like that, another chapter closed. A few months later, Amaka walked into her office to find a large manila envelope on her desk. It wasn't marked. No name. Inside, a single letter. They were watching you long before the slap. Her heart skipped. Attached to the note, screenshots, emails, financial documents, names she didn't recognize. But one she did. Dr. Jeremy Benson. He was supposed to be serving time. But the letter said otherwise. He had cut a deal. And he wasn't done. That night, Amaka sat across from Williams in their bedroom, her hands shaking slightly. They say it wasn't just about the inheritance, she whispered. There was something deeper. Jeremy had partners. And they still want something. Williams leaned back. What? She unfolded the last page of the letter. At the bottom, typed in bold. It wasn't just about killing you. It was about what you were hiding. He frowned. Hiding? She looked at him. Is there something, anything, you never told me? Silence. Then his eyes darkened. There's a vault. She blinked. What vault? He stood slowly, walked to the bookshelf, and pressed his palm to a carved wooden panel. A soft click. The shelf shifted. Behind it, a steel door. Only Namdi and I knew, he said. It holds documents. Shares. Patents. Things that could change a lot of things in this country. She stepped forward. He looked at her. And now, you should know too. As the steel door opened, and the light from the room touched secrets never meant to be found, Amaka understood. The slap was only the beginning. There were still rooms left unopened. Truths untold. Battles to come. But now, she wouldn't face them alone. Not as a maid. Not even as a wife. But as a woman who had once stood in front of a casket and refused to let death win.